technical difficulties to the position of chairperson of the full legislature, being named the youngest chairperson in Erie County legislator history. April was unanimously reelected by her Democratic caucus members to serve as chair during the 2020 and 2021 recognition. So I would like to introduce to you, or reintroduce to some, none other than the Honorable April Baskin. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chantel, and thank you to Child and Family Services and all of the community organizations that you partner with for this opportunity.
Yes, we are so excited to have you. So we are going to jump into this conversation. I have some questions for you, and I'm sure as we go along, some of our listeners will have questions that will allow them to ask as we get to the end of this. So let's get to it. What made you decide that you wanted to run for public office?
That's a layered question with layered answers. Honestly, I did not want to run for public office. That was not something that I was seeking to do. I was seeking to be a community servant. As you mentioned in your opening about my biography, in reading my biography, I was working on a small nonprofit that I developed. And I have to get my son 1 second.
Okay. It's okay.
One second.
And while Ms. Baskin grabs her son, if you have any thoughts or questions about things going on in the community, start getting your ideas together, because we'll definitely take some questions from our viewers today.
Okay, you guys are patient. Thank you.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
So back to your question. Yeah, I just wanted to serve the community. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in the lives of people of color. And in doing that and trying to do that in excellency and being focused on a very specific goal, people who operated in local government and in politics noticed me and my work ethic and my passion, and they felt that those would be transferable skills into being an elected official. Statistically, women have to be asked 7 times to run for office before they finally say yes. That's a statistic that I conveniently throw out because others have said it is true, but in recent, I have found it to be true. I tried to recruit a mother of 4 to serve in the legislature in a seat that I knew would be vacant soon, and it was taxing. She had to consider a lot of things, as women often do when they have to make decisions like serving people outside of their direct family unit. And the reality of that and the sacrifice that I make and what I was stepped up to do for the community really, really sunk in recently when I tried to recruit another woman to serve. So yeah, it was never like on my agenda to be an elected official at all. It's always just been to make the community a better place. It just so happened that one of the best places to be able to do that is in elected office. And when the opportunity presented itself after reluctantly saying no, probably more than 7 times, I finally agreed to say yes. And that is because there was a lack of representation that looked like me and that came from my narrative of life in the county legislature. And I wanted to see people under the age of 40. I wanted to see the lifestyles and the concerns of women, of single mothers, of Black people held to a priority through the lens of county government. And when I looked at all of those voids, I said, who better than to try than me? And so I agreed to take the opportunity, step up, go for it. I was successful, and it has been one of the best decisions I have ever made, and honestly, one of the greatest privileges of my life.
That is so awesome. And we are so excited that you decided to answer that call. As difficult as I'm sure it is. And so with that being said, knowing that you have to wear many hats and play many roles, we know this is not something that you can do on your own, right? You have to make this work through the support of a team. So tell us a little bit about your team that helps you kind of juggle all these priorities.
So first and foremost, my team begins with my family. My immediate team is my 11-year-old daughter and my 8-month-old son. And they remind me every single day that I have purpose, that I am valued. They remind me every second of every day that I am needed. And they are the greatest team members that God could ever bless a woman with. In addition to that, I have just a strong, strong extended family unit, from my parents to my grandparents, siblings, aunts and uncles. Some people who right now in a re-election year for myself are going to be some of the hardest workers, babysitters, chefs for me, as I juggle so many things, like trying to continue to chair the legislature, be the District 2 legislator, and be a mother. Beyond that, my team is comprised of my staff. I believe that I have the best staff in the entire county. It's made up of people who have come from all walks of life, very different backgrounds. I have a single mother on my staff. I have someone who born in Puerto Rico and speaks, Spanish, so that I'm a stronger communicator with that demographic in my district. I have professors. I have people with law degrees. I have men. I have women. I have people who are older than me. I have people who are younger than me. And it is that diversity that helps me have the ability to serve the diverse population of Erie County, which is almost 1 million people.
Wow.
And lastly, it's skill sets. I'm a believer that everybody around me should be smarter than me, because then there's always something for me to learn, and there's comfort and feeling confident that there's always someone to turn to get an opinion. I am what one of my mentors call a social thinker. So there's not one person that can help me decide on what to do when it comes to serving the people of District 2 or Erie County. Not even just me. I asked several people their opinions, their perspectives, why they feel the way that they feel before I make a decision, because there are lives at stake. That's what county government does. It takes care of people, people's quality of life. City government is really focused on development and the beautification of the city and keeping the city robust. But when it comes to if people can eat, if mothers have childcare, if people have heat, if veterans have services, if seniors have services, if children are in safe homes, or health in the middle of a pandemic, all of those things fall under county government. And so I've been tasked with much, and my team has to be diverse and has to have a variety of skill sets in order for me to be a successful servant to the residents.
That is awesome. And that's really good, a good educational piece to inform our audience about the role of county government, especially because we're talking to the folks who are involved with caring and serving for children and families. So that is very good to know.
Great. And
That being
thank you
said,
guys.
tell us about some of the projects that you worked on. We're talking about Black History Month. Tell us about some of the projects that you worked on that you think have had the greatest impact on the Black community.
That's a good question too, Chantal. So I serve in my office. I look at the community in caveats. I believe it is my opinion that communities of color and people of color need healthy programming, innovative and fresh outlets, free opportunities to be able to strengthen their households. So there's a style and a typical thing and typical events that elected officials do, and it's important to me to not mirror that. One, being a millennial and coming from an arts background, it doesn't even make sense for me to follow suit in that way. So I make sure that my office is always producing events that give Black families and families of color an opportunity to get out of the house, to work together, to have fun, but in a fresh way. Two projects that are happening right now out of my office and that I'm very proud of because they're, original and they came from me and my awesome team is the Buffalo Black History Beat. This is the second time that we are doing it. We did it 2 years ago. Last year, because of COVID, we couldn't do it. But what it does is it calls for schools to develop teams of students to learn Black history from a study guide that my office provides and has developed with Buffalo Public Schools and the Buffalo History Museum. And then they compete for a prize. This year, because of COVID, we learned last year we had to skip, and I said, this year, we're not going to skip it. We're just going to adjust to COVID. The Black History Bee is being produced again in partnership with Buffalo Public Schools Office of Parent and Family Engagement. Shout out to Dr. Reynolds and her team and Say Yes Buffalo. Shout out to Delina Smallwood and the Buffalo Parent Families Centers of Say Yes and the History Museum. And what we've done this year is instead of, because the dynamics of in-school of schools is so unique because of COVID, we have opened up the competition to families. So families, moms, dads, grandmas, aunts, and uncles, Shay and her son, anyone can, you and Turk, you guys can register through my office to be a family who sits together, who learns Black history through the study guide. You can throw on your family reunion t-shirt and you will compete against another family. And we are doing that virtually on Facebook on Saturday, March 13th. Registration is open now on the county website, and I'm excited about that. And as someone who's a mother of two and who's busy, I look for fun opportunities and new ways to sit down with my kids and have fun and compete. Winners will get the Eva Doyle Black History Trophy. Eva Doyle is a local historian and an educator of Black history in the city of Buffalo for over 40 years. For over 40 years, she wrote her Eye on History article for a Black-owned newspaper. They will get a gift certificate for the family to go out to a Black-owned restaurant and a gift basket from the Buffalo History Museum. Another event.
Very cool.
Yeah, I can't wait. Another event is the Black Doll exhibit, which opens tomorrow at the Central Library, and that celebrates Black beauty through the eyes of Latin and Black Barbie dolls. And that will be held at the Central Library. It opens up tomorrow, and it stays. It's an exhibit that will stay open. It's led by my office until March 13th, and that's an event where families can take their young girls out, look at beautiful Barbie dolls, look at dolls, which a lot of young girls tend to love, but they look like them. And they represent dolls that come from walks of life, experiences, shapes, sizes, and countries that our people come from. And I'm excited about that. So fun family events is something that's important to me. Legislation. I'm proud that New York State passed bail reform, which restructures how our criminal justice system houses people in the holding center as they await their due process in our court system. And that was passed right after I spent a year lobbying the county to pass a resolution telling the state that it needs to get done. That wasn't an easy thing to do, but it needed to get done. And Black and Brown communities need elected officials that are going to look at their circumstances and write laws and introduce policies that are going to help them towards upward mobility. Shout out to Thurman Thomas, because I had a lot of adversaries against passing that resolution. And Thurman Thomas, NFL Hall of Famer for the Buffalo Bills, came in and he spoke to the need to get bail reform done. So I'm big on partnerships too. We banned youth shackling of youth that are housed in the detention center. In transit to their court appearances, they were being shackled. And I just didn't feel that our young people needed to be shackled if they were not a threat to go to court. So that's a policy that I'm proud of. During COVID, we had millions of dollars of federal CARES Act funding that was allocated towards helping businesses. And as the county developed a process to select what businesses would receive help, gender and race was considered. We helped public schools with funding for virtual learning centers. We had rental assistance programs. All of this stuff was through policy and legislation. So, both making sure that families, Black and Brown families, have access to staying unified and building a foundation together, and putting forth policies and legislation, and making sure that county funding, public dollars, goes directly to the needs of Black and Brown communities are priorities that I operate by daily.
That is awesome. You have obviously been busy. I was recently checking out some of the other things that you work on amongst all of that you just mentioned. I know with some of your 2021 initiatives, allocating funding for mental health clinics on the east side of Buffalo, early intervention for childhood lead poisoning, and investing in Say Yes Buffalo's summer camp. That mental health services, that is one of our major services here at Child and Family Services, and obviously anything impacting children and families is important to us. Say Yes being one of our major partners. Tell us why those particular things were important to you.
Because of the need and the void and the consequences of the lack thereof, that my community, that my district, that Black and Brown families face because of the void. I've always been some other type of person. When I see people without, or I see an injustice, I get very, very uncomfortable. And my mom always says that I was the kid that would always, my favorite line was, "But that's not fair." And I operate from that way all the time, every day. That's not fair. And whatever is not fair, you can best believe April Baskin is going after it, because I believe that things should be fair. I think I have an understanding of reality, that we are in this country so far off balance from fairness, that I have decided to just demand equity, which means being equal is going to be difficult, because those of us that come from economically distressed communities and races are so far behind. Truly finding equality is going to be difficult, but being able to put resources to areas, to people, to genders, to neighborhoods that need more because of who they are, because of history, or because of barriers that they face daily, that is something that can be done. And that's what I fight for. Who needs what the most right now?
Sure.
Yeah. So, I believe that funding Say Yes Buffalo in the legislature has given them $10,000 every year since I entered for their summer camp to avoid summer reading loss is a priority. I believe that kids who suffer from a little bit of lead poisoning, less than 5 decibels, which the state calls non-threatening, they still need early intervention services. And now the county, under my leadership, has a program that helps with that. So,
That's okay. This is authentic. Handle your business. Mom first, right? Mom first. He's
But
so
yeah,
cute.
that's why I go after those items, Shay, because so many people they don't have any other way, any other person, any other conduit to getting through those barriers. So I feel a great responsibility to make sure that the void is filled.
Well, thank you for that. Shifting gears a little bit, what have been some of your biggest challenges as a Black woman in public office so far?
Um, hmm. I think my challenge is, honestly, to be transparent. If I could put them in order, I would say ageism is the biggest challenge, because it doesn't matter. I have people who question my ability to be able to lead or handle things based on my age. First, second would be gender. I think that there were certain people who were in my position that were male, they would not face some of the unnecessary things that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And then third, definitely race. Now with me, they're all combined. I'm just shy of 40 and only been elected 3 years. And in that time, like you said in my bio, I was immediately promoted to a leadership position. And then within a year and a half of that, I was promoted to the highest position in the county legislature, the youngest person in history to ever serve in that position. And then I am a woman and I am Black. And there are, I can't really point out like what's the hardest thing. It is just overall complex.
Sure.
People just have assumptions that the culture of this country embeds in them. And I have to deal with them, from managing staff to gaining respect in boardrooms to the assumption that when I am passionate about something, that it is just me being emotional as an angry Black woman or an emotional woman or a kid who just hasn't been around the block long enough. It doesn't matter, you know? So I wish I could point to like, what is the hardest thing, but it is just hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just hard.
There's a lot of intersectionality at play in public office that I'm sure many folks don't consider. Aside from public office, let's talk about some of your other roles. We know that you are a mom. You obviously have a very new baby here. You have college simulation experience. Tell us a little bit about how it's been, especially in the role of being a new mom while being in public office.
Yeah, you very quickly learn that every day you're going to be great at something different. And I count that to be a blessing. So I'm some days I'm the best mom in the world. Some days I'm the best legislator and chairperson in the world. Some days those two are very different. Being the chairperson, tasked with having to keep camaraderie over all 11 legislators who all serve very different districts, because we all here know that Erie County is historically segregated economically and racially. So when you talk about being the leader of 11 people who have their own chunk to lead, their lens, their needs are so different. But then on top of that, I represent a very specific district. It is immigrant, it is Black, it is refugee, and there's portions of the Upper West Side, like the Elmwood Village area, where quite wealthy white people live. I think I'm the only district that has that type of diversity in it of the 11. So that's tough. And then, yeah, some days I'm the greatest daughter, some days I'm the greatest neighbor. You know, it's not, of course, it's not easy. Life has not been easy for a lot of us especially within the last year. But what I have learned to do is to accept that today I'm going to be good at this thing, and tomorrow I will address another caveat or role that I have in my life, and I'll be great at that. And we have to learn to find contentment in that, because there are some people that go through life or are having a time or going through a season right now where they don't feel like they're being successful or good or great at anything. So if I can win as a mom and get a healthy home cooked meal on the table one night, and I was great at that. But if tomorrow, if they're eating pizza, chicken fingers and pizza rolls,
That is really good advice.
we stay ate.
I think I'll write that down. Also wearing many hats, I love that. And I think, moms of all backgrounds can relate to that pressure that you feel to get it right all the time, or even, professional women without children to be successful at every part of your job or every role you play. So that's excellent advice. While we're talking about the parenting thing, for families, how can families best get their young people involved in the political process or to learn more about their role in civic life? I think that's really important as we focus on Black history or looking towards the future, we know that our young people are the future, right? So how do we best get them equipped and prepared for being engaged civically?
I think the best thing parents can do is to have conversations with their children. So I am not intentional in that. It is just the fact that my daughter is my daughter. And so she is around governmental conversations, political conversations, very private conversations. And in that, of course, she absorbs it because she's exposed to it. And what that causes her to do, it just opens up another door of curiosity in her mind. And I've learned that it has caused her to think differently about situations, ask very unique questions that I don't think children who are not growing up in a household where there's a parent who is a leader in government exists. And it's making her well more aware of her civic responsibilities and the things that she needs to do to be a contributing member to democracy. So, like I got a call from a mother once, and she wanted me to look into like a political summer camp where they were going to train her daughter to learn what it was going to be like to be a young woman running for office. I was like, that's cool if you have time and you can afford it. But if not, you can just take your daughter to vote with you, and you'll be shocked when you ask them, have you ever heard of any of these names? Have any of these people, have you seen a commercial? What do you feel about this person when you see that commercial? What issues are important to you? How do you feel about our local parks? How do you feel about how the garbage men leave our trash or our sidewalks, our trash cans when they drop it off? Or how does it feel when, what do you feel about our streets and our sidewalks? Just talking to your kids, and then that triggers, that it's your local council member, it's our local legislator who really can help us have the lifestyle that we want to have in our neighborhood and in our communities. And they go, really? Well, what's a council member? And me, mommy and daddy or grandma or auntie or whoever, we have the right to choose who that person is going to be. And then they get interested. So you just have to have the conversations with them about it. You gotta talk to them and include them.
That's great. That's great. So tell us, I'm sure that you serve as a role model for many young ladies with all races. Who are currently some of your role models and mentors?
Single moms everywhere are my mentors and role models. I have a special place in my heart for those that who are Black women, because that's an extra layer of barrier, and experience is just different. So that's every time I just see a mom handling her business and trying her best to take care of her babies and provide, I get super excited, motivated, stoked. I want to celebrate her. Professionally, Shirley Chisholm, who is buried here in Buffalo. I'm working on a commission right now, who's meeting about kind of solidifying her legacy in a monument locally. Just the bravery of being a woman of color to step up, step out, and say things that other people are afraid to say because it could jeopardize their elected position. That motivates me. My relationship with Christ motivates me. Those are my role models. That's who I strive to be like. Single mothers everywhere, Shirley Chisholm and Jesus.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So as we talk about, solidifying the legacy of Shirley Chisholm, the legacy that Jesus left behind, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? How do you want to be remembered when we think about who April Baskin is?
Yeah, I think about that often, and I'm still early in my career. I'm still understanding my community's needs and the systemic barriers that got us here, and how the consequences of that, or the way people react to the history that we had to deal with and face, how that complicates the dynamic that I have which is to create a conduit for them to get out of it. It's layered, it's complex, but overall, whatever it is, I want there to be like a post lifestyle pre-April Baskin and a lifestyle post-April Baskin. Like that, I know is what I want. So there is America before the Civil War and there's America after the Civil War. There is America before Donald Trump was president and there's America after Donald Trump was president. So I want people to be able to say, before April Baskin was elected, this is how things were. This is how that program was. This is how funding was allocated. But after April Baskin, it was like this. So, you know, it was better.
That's awesome. That gives me
Yeah.
goosebumps. That's really great. And I know that you are working on many things. I just have a couple more questions and then we'll open it up for our attendees to ask some questions. But what's next for you, either as a mom, what's next for you as a legislator?
Keeping the kids clean and fed and educated is a goal as a mom. Making sure that they're fed, that they're clean, and that they're educated. Those are the immediate goals in motherhood. Next up, as a legislator, it would be to pass a progressive package of legislation this year that directly addresses some inequities in Black and Brown communities. I've identified what they are. I know one of your speakers, I think you know him kind of well, Lindsay Taylor. You ever heard of him?
Yes.
He's working with me on an initiative for local artists, a local law that is going to create more opportunity for artists of color, a local law that is going to create more opportunity for Black and Brown communities to be a priority in the county's health department, a local law that is going to address diversity in the workforce on county development projects. So the county is probably going to have a lot of infrastructure development in the next couple of years, and making sure that those that work on that infrastructure development are people that are Black and Brown and women. A local law that focuses on minority and women entrepreneurs having as much opportunity to gain government contracts as possible. And the conduit to getting there is not complex and overwhelming, because the last thing that we need is another opportunity that takes up so much time, or it is not inviting, that it does not truly benefit the community in which it was created to serve. And then finally, a local law that focuses on language access. I serve a community that has a high population of immigrant and refugees. English is not always their first language. I want their experiences when they come to the county for services to be met with ease. And I think that it will help having opportunities for them to be able to get vital documents in their native language. And I'm working with Partnership of the Public Good on that local law.
Thank you so much. And I want to point out, especially because I know that a lot of our attendees today are employees of Child and Family Services. And I think it's important for us that serve the people with mental health services and a variety of other residential services and these family preservation needs. It's important for us to stay tuned into the different legislation that's happening as it relates to these families, because we need to know how their lives will be changed by all of this. So I just encourage my colleagues to stay tapped in to the work that you're doing, so that we can directly see how it impacts the way that we serve and the services and opportunities available to these families. I have one more final question for myself, and then we'll jump into questions and comments from
And can I piggyback off of that thought real quick, Chantel?
Sure.
The county legislature also, this is not a local law, but it is just around innovative development and policy change. The Democratic Majority Caucus of the county legislature has a joint goal and has been working amazingly together as a unit to address mental health as it pertains to 911 calls and interaction with county sheriffs. So, there's going to be, the mental health department is working with the legislature on funding a mental health center to kind of make up for where CPEP over at ECMC cannot serve the community. And that's something that I'm very, very proud of the majority caucus, my colleagues in the legislature, for leading. It's a joint effort. It's taking a lot of work, and it is right now a hot button topic, a priority of the majority caucus. And so if your agency is working, in that realm, or has comment, has suggestions, has research that could benefit your elected officials right now at a county level, I encourage you guys to stay in touch with me, and let's find ways to partner to make sure that mental health, especially in communities that are economically depressed, is addressed.
Well, thank you for that. One final question, and then we'll jump into the comments from our attendees. What advice would you give for, I know you said you attempted to recruit some women. What advice would you give for other women, Black women, even considering or entertaining the idea of running for public office to influence the future?
Yeah, so I just had some really crazy experiences with new candidates running for office recently. And the greatest takeaway and the greatest lesson that I had in that experience is people should get involved before they decide to run. You really, really, I had a very unique circumstance, and I had a very unique, I wasn't somebody that went to my local political organization and said, I want to be a candidate for office. People who were in government recognized something in me, and I was blessed that those people were skilled, experienced, and hardworking, and they got behind me, and I had to learn very, very quickly in order to survive. But if you are not on that, and if you don't have anybody knocking at your door, but you do feel pressed on your heart that serving the public in elected position is something that you could do, is something that you're being called to do, is something that you feel would be a good fit for you, if you feel that leading your community through elected office is down the road for you, the best thing to do is to get involved with people who have campaigns, who are elected. And of course, their priorities and their goals and their agenda should align with your morals, and support them and learn the process. You have to. You want to know how to fundraise for a campaign. You want to know the landscape of how people vote, usually vote, and the trends. You want to know what it takes to hire a campaign manager, get on the ballot. There's laws put in place. There's a special process of even being considered to be a candidate. So it is not all about being popular and a lot of people liking you, or being an eloquent speaker. It is very much a very laid out process. And I think I see women get discouraged or turned off, and they would make great elected officials. But the reason that they do so is because they don't understand the process, and they have not had the experience of being in a campaign before. And when you do that, you do people a disservice. The worst thing that could happen would be to get involved with somebody's campaign, or to put yourself out there to be a leader and get the community excited about you and get people to invest in you. And then you realize halfway down the road, because you've never done this before, that it's too much, it's too complex, or you're uncomfortable, because you've let down a lot of people, and things get very, very murky after that. If you think that this road is for you, April Baskin is up for re-election this year. That's a campaign you can work on. And there are other campaigns. There might be offices that you're very passionate about. You might be someone that is very passionate about the seat of the sheriff and who the next sheriff is, or who the next mayor is, or who the next county executive is. Get involved in that race. Get involved. Learn how to do it. Learn how it's done. That way, when it's your turn, you're not a stranger. People know you. You've developed a reputation. People know your work ethic. And you really know firsthand what is being asked of you, because it is nothing but extreme sacrifice.
That's good advice. Thank you so much. So with that, we're going to jump into some of the comments and questions. Hollis Davis says, we love baby-friendly Zooms. Yes, we do, because all this
Thank
mama's working from home and homeschooling. We need a little grace these days. So thank you
I
for that.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Emily Alvarez says, will the recording of this session be shared? Yes. Registrants will receive all 4 weeks, starting with Ms. Eva Doyle, Lindsay Taylor, Jamil Cruz, and closing out with April Baskin. So yes, you will get a recording. Tara Petty says, you're doing incredible work in managing many roles. What do you do to take care of yourself, especially during these challenging times? That's a good question, Tara. I was going to ask her that. And then do you find it a challenge to keep burnout at bay? Thank you so much for your time today and all that you do. So yeah, let's talk about that. What do you do to take care of yourself?
I'm not enough, and I appreciate the friends that I have in my life to remind me of self-care. I do enjoy taking days where I block out on my calendar. I say I'm just going to have a day off, and COVID has made convening a little complex, and I try to limit it to only convening with people when I'm needed in the community, because I can only do it but so much. So honestly, the most relaxing thing that I do right now is sit with my kids on the couch and watch a good family movie and order takeout. That is so refreshing. It is not comparable to a cruise to the Bahamas, but it is just as refreshing considering the circumstances that we're in right now.
I love it. That's a similar thing for my weekly recap with my son. It's so we order our takeout on Fridays and we sit, and there's a special YouTuber that we like to watch together every week. So that's kind of our thing.
Awesome.
Yes. So I can identify with that. So I hope that our listeners today, oh, I missed a question. Let's see. Sharon says, I found this conversation very inspiring and I appreciate the opportunity to get to know April. As I think about the work I do at C&FS, a couple of April statements resonated with me. Free opportunities to strengthen family households and opportunities to get out of the house and work together. I'm going to keep these in mind as I work to deepen our connection and to work in the communities we serve. Thank you so much for this thought-provoking conversation. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Sharon.
So many nuggets. Yes. So many nuggets here. I can't wait to watch this again. You hit on a lot of points that are relevant as a person, a Black woman in service to our community in a different capacity, but in service nonetheless. So there's lots that I want to go back to look at, and I hope our attendees will also do the same. You know, I know Legislator Baskin spoke a lot about the policies and things that she's put forth, but beyond that, I hope that you have an opportunity to really see the influence that she is making in the Black community, the trails that she is blazing as a Black woman, as a Black mother. That is really the reason that we had you here today, to talk about your future facing influence, and especially, you know, being a mom. Moms have the greatest influence on the future, right? So that is why we are happy to have you here today with such a unique experience. Deb says, thank you so much. Your work is inspiring. Verlaine says, you are so inspiring, April. Keep up the great work, making history today. God bless.
Thank you.
Yes. So you got an opportunity to inspire so many today. We are so grateful and honored to have you. This is our final week for Black History Month, but I hope everyone will stay tuned. We're going to keep this going throughout the year because we know that Black history cannot be relegated to just one month, right? It will be Black History 365. Cheryl says, thank you. You are amazing. Yes, she is. Sorry, more comments are coming in. Real quick, Nicolette, I'll get to your question in just a second, but I just want to mention that we're going to be doing this year round. So instead of every week, like Black History Month, we will once a month be elevating Black voices to highlight things that are happening in the community. Nicolette wants to know, is there any way we can get involved with your campaign this year? And Emily says, can people outside of her district help in her campaign? And so I'm sure they can find you on Facebook and your website.
Yep. Yeah, I have a candidates page, a personal Facebook page, a county legislator Facebook page. I'm on Twitter, April Baskin, and you can always email me directly, my personal Gmail account. April, the number 4, Erie County @gmail.com. And I appreciate the work that you guys do. Chantel, I've always admired you, your leadership, the ability to be able to be such a force in our community and still raise a young Black boy into a Black man is just something that's truly to be admired. So thank you for this opportunity and the work that you do through this agency.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to serve, as I know you are. So I don't see any additional questions coming in. April, this was so wonderful. It's such a pleasure. Always great to see you and speak with you. Again, I hope that you all check out our future Black history speakers throughout the rest of the year. Remembering that Black history is everyone's history. So thank you so much and have a good day.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.